are now listening to a Forward Mile Podcast Network production.
All right, and welcome into the next edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. Currently, we are in playoff hockey time. It is Stanley Cup Playoffs, and there is no better time in sports, in my personal opinion, and I think the guy I'll be sharing this podcast with definitely shares that sentiment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely very excited, obviously. For us here at Vegas Squares, we have playoff hockey in the desert the very first year it was made available. So that's obviously something that, is new to this city. And what are your thoughts on kind of just the buzz and the aura of Vegas right now as we begin our sprint toward the Cup? I mean, many people are saying it's not the draw that they wanted, but what are your initial thoughts on just Vegas hockey and their first round matchup here against LA?
I think for Vegas, it is the better of the three matchups that we could have faced in the first round. For the point that LA is probably the least physical out of the three in my mind when it comes to playoff hockey compared to the Ducks and the Sharks.
Yeah, see, I think I have to side with you on this situation. I mean, I know a lot of people are saying, the Kings, but I think they're caught up in the moment of that home and home. Was that in February? So a little over a month ago, a little less than 2 months ago, the home and home where we lost both, one in overtime where we kind of blew it in LA, and then the game in Vegas where LA looked like the better team. I think they're caught up in that and not really thinking about the fact that I think top to bottom, the Golden Knights are the better squad as a whole. There are some better players, I think, with Carter and Doughty. I think it all goes on quick and flurry at this point, so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk. That's what this podcast is going to be about. We're going to talk Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to preview each of the matchups and give our prediction on who we believe is going to advance to the quarterfinals, the conference quarterfinals, in their respective conferences. So let's, without further ado, let's take the number one overall seed in the West, and we'll stay in the West, and then we'll go to the East. But before we do that, I just want to kind of shout out to our sponsors. We have Forward Mile Podcast. You can catch them on forwardmile.com. You can catch our podcast there if you subscribe. They are the number one name in daily fantasy sports. Also, we have 12-Ounce Sports Radio. You can catch us there every Tuesday evening and Saturday mornings on 12ouncesportsradio.com. And also our main sponsor, Chai Poker, who is hosting a charity tournament at South Point this Saturday. So if you are in the area this Saturday evening, April 14th, go and stop by South Point Casino and tell them that we sent you and jump in, play 2-3 bullets for a good cause, and hopefully maybe you'll take it down.
Absolutely, yeah. Free pizza as well.
I was about to say,
you're interested.
I was about to say, I left you a softball, free parking, free pizza, and you didn't say it.
Yep.
So, anyways,
8 p.m. start. So
let's dive into the matchups, and we have the Colorado Avalanche going to face the Nashville Predators. Colorado, would you say Colorado's a bit of a surprise at where they're sitting right now?
Not necessarily. I think in some spots they were kind of weak towards the beginning of the season, then they had a good stretch towards the middle and just kind of floated around towards the end and got in the playoffs. So,
well, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the stats in front of me from the 2017-18 season, but I believe Colorado was one of the worst, if not the worst teams, not just in the Western Conference, in the NHL. And to me, talent-wise, they didn't do anything to upgrade that talent. And then they traded Duchesne at the beginning of this year, and it seemed like that Duchesne trade was the spark to get them to kind of flip over and play team hockey. I don't know if I'm not bad-mouthing Duchesne because that whole situation went down pretty poorly from the front office, the coaching staff, all the way down to Matt Duchesne. So not to take anything away from Matt, he had to get out and get a change of scenery, but that really gave the ability for Nathan MacKinnon to step up and be one of the biggest stars and biggest stories in the NHL this year.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That was their biggest move in probably the last decade for Colorado, and it benefiting them big time. So,
well, then on the other side, you have the President's Trophy winners, and the last, President's Trophy is not always something everybody wants to get as far as the stigma of what the President's Trophy has done to Washington. But I'm sure Nashville, after losing the Stanley Cup Finals, is happy to stay basically as one of the top contenders in the West, and also probably the front runner for the Stanley Cup itself. I don't have the odds in front of me, but you look at Nashville, the number 1 seed versus the wild card 2 in Colorado. In my opinion, after making the trades for Turris and Hartman, the Predators right now just have too much depth and talent. And Pecorine is back there, who's one of the best in the business. I think they got too much going on for the Avalanche to really be quite ready. So I'm going to take the Predators. I'm going to give the Avalanche a game, but I'll take the Predators in 5.
That's exactly what I said.
Okay. You'll just put a ditto on it.
Yeah, on the bracket challenge, that is, I took Nashville in 5 games exactly. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh.
I
good point about the bracket challenge. You can still join ours before the first games kick off. Follow us on Twitter at Vegas Squares, and you can click the link to sign up and choose your bracket. You have about a day and a half. I think the first ones start around 4:00, so you have a little under a day and a half to still get in. Winner gets a $50 Visa gift card, and if you pick a perfect bracket, we will double it to a $100 Visa gift card. So either check out the website, vegassquares.com, or the Twitter feed at Vegas Squares. All links to our bracket challenge are there, so you can jump in and you can have some bragging rights and maybe $100 in your pocket if you're that good at picking NHL matchups. So I interrupted you, sir, so go ahead and finish your thought.
No, I was just pretty much agreeing with you. Nashville, as right now, I was just looking up the odds on the front runners for the Stanley Cup at plus 450.
Okay, so there you go. So let's move into Winnipeg versus Minnesota. The Jets were the second in points in the West, but unfortunately they play in the same division as the team with the first most points in the West. So they are stuck playing the 2-3 matchup in their own division, the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota's a weird team here. They still have a lot of decent talent. However, 2 big things are not going their way, and that one is Ryan Suter's broken leg will definitely make it difficult for the Wild to slow down all the weapons that Winnipeg has. And Bruce Boudreau does not have the best track record in the NHL playoffs.
Yes, that is without a doubt. In this matchup, I have Winnipeg winning, but I think it goes to 7 games. I think Dubnyk is a good enough goalie to get Minnesota to a 7th game and make it an interesting one.
See, I look at this one, and I really feel like Winnipeg is firing on all cylinders right now, from goalie all the way to their front line. And Minnesota comes in limping. And last year, if that last year was any indication of what they can do with Bruce Boudreau, I'm not really sure what to make. They got almost swept out of the playoffs last year, and not to say that Howla, on the third line was so great last year, but that's a key piece missing. You have Spurgeon is doubtful for the game, or for at least the first 2 games. I could see if they get down 2-0, realistically, Winnipeg just stepping on the throat, trying to get a sweep out of their team and be well rested to probably play Nashville, where they're going to need every bit of energy and team effort to beat the Predators. So I'm going to say Winnipeg, and I'm going to take the sweep here. I'm going to say Winnipeg sweeps the Wild.
Oh, wow.
I just don't think Minnesota. It's going to come on to Dubnyk at this point because Suter is a big absence, which obviously leaves the door open, on your top line for a lesser talented player to now have to step up. Realistically, in my generosity, I'll give Minnesota a game, but I'm going to say that the Jets probably take this down in 4 and try to kind of almost go even because I think Avalanche will get a game on Nashville. I think I'll give Winnipeg the sweep and so that they're able to just get a little bit of rest before they have to take on their biggest challenge probably in the postseason.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think Nashville comes out of the top of the matchup. So. Like you're saying 5, but I'm thinking more 5 games, but 4 of them are close, and 3 of them probably go into overtime.
Okay, so let's move on to Vegas versus Los Angeles. This is the matchup we were talking about at the beginning of the show. This is the one where, like I said, a lot of the city is kind of nervous. I'm not necessarily sure I see. I was listening to a couple of hockey shows yesterday, and nobody's really given Vegas a chance at this point. Is it just, what are your thoughts on kind of, I get the pedigree of what the Kings can do. I just don't think these are the Kings from, 6-7 years ago.
Yes. You still have some dominant players. You have Kopitar, you have Quick, which is maybe a future Hall of Famer goalie, and, a few other pieces, but they do play physical hockey, and they will wear you down. But also we have our enforcers now to kind of even out that physical hockey. So
let me ask you a question. So you look at, you listen around, to some of the national broadcasts, and you see on Twitter some of the other fans talking, and really nobody's given the Golden Knights a chance. Do you think that's a testament to the Kings' talent, or do you think everybody outside of the 702 area code is tired of the Vegas Golden Knights story?
I think they're tired of the Vegas Golden Knights story, and they think that the regular season was kind of a fluke.
We'll find out one way or another, but I feel like it's more of an envious situation. I feel like they seem jealous. Most of these people, their team, if they're a 06 or one of the merger teams, like, you weren't alive more than likely for when your team was an expansion team. Yeah, your team might have sucked, but it's not fair to sit here and have so much hatred for the Golden Knights just because. My favorite thing is that they got to pluck all-stars from all these teams, and I'm like, what all-star do you see on this team? Okay, you can say Fleury, who was an all-star and a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, but he was the backup at the time he was drafted. So, not really thinking that Pittsburgh feel too bad to give him away. In fact, they actually gave him a second-round pick to take him off the hands. So, it's just to me, it's the Kings still have the core of their championship teams, but I just don't think it's the same team. I think this series goes 7 games, and I don't want to. It's not a bias thing here, but I think Vegas has the ability to win a game on the road, which will help them either get it in 6 or 7. I'm going to take the Golden Knights in 7.
I'm taking VJK as well, but I'm thinking 6. Okay.
All right, well, we'll move on to Anaheim versus San Jose, which I think is the best first-round matchup in the Western Conference. This matchup is definitely going to be one for the books because I can't wait to see guys like Kessler and Getzlaf get all over, putting Evander Kane in the boards and, see what we have out of Brent Burns trying to defend his guys. So I think, to be honest with you, when they're healthy, the Ducks are, if not the best. I know that's hard to say with the Predators, but if they're healthy and Gibson's playing the way he's played all year, I don't see a real challenge from San Jose. I think the Ducks in 6, if that's the way they play, and I think that's the way they are now that they're fully healthy. Kessler, Getzlaf, Perry, Raquel. I think they have more weapons than San Jose from a top to, at least the top 3 line standpoint. Their defense is better, and their goalie is definitely, in my opinion, the better of the two starting goalies, where I don't think if they go with Martin Jones, I think John Gibson has the decided advantage. So I'm going to lean Ducks in 6. If Joe Thornton returns, maybe Ducks in 7, but he's looking to be out for most, if not all, of this series.
Yes, I do agree with you on a few points. I do believe the Ducks have a better goalie. I do disagree with you saying that they have a better defense as of right now. I still think the Sharks have a better defense. They're much more experienced, especially when it comes to playoff hockey. And I think that will be one of the determining factors in this series to come. And Gibson, I'm not sure if he's going to have a great postseason. I'm taking the Sharks in 6 in this one.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, the Sharks are no slouch, and they definitely got one of the most prolific goal scorers who was on the market at the time. So I don't hate the way the Sharks play, and I definitely think that if as a VGK fan, I would rather see the Sharks. So I mean, it doesn't hurt me to say that I hope San Jose can either wear down Anaheim or maybe beat Anaheim. I just think Anaheim, now that they're healthy, if John Gibson can stay healthy, they are one of the best teams in the Western Conference, in my opinion. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So I tell you what, we'll have that's the first one we've clashed on. So we'll have $20 prop bets on each of the ones we clash on. So the games don't matter. It's just winning the series. So I'll take the Ducks in that one. You got the Sharks. So we'll move over to the East.
Yeah.
And the Eastern Conference points leaders, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the number 1 seed, are facing wild card number 2, and that's the New Jersey Devils. Weird situation here. I think the Devils are on fire right now, and the Lightning have limped. I use that term loosely. I think they've struggled down the stretch to get to they're just ready to get to playoff hockey. So the Devils actually beat the Lightning all 3 times they played this year. So this is a weird matchup because, I mean, the books have the Lightning minus 275 the last time I saw it. And, it's a weird one. A lot of people like New Jersey. Are they just a sexy pick at this point because of Taylor Hall and the way they're playing right now?
I believe in that situation, yes. I'm saying Lightning right now at minus 325 even.
Okay, so it's even moved since 10 hours ago. So.
Yeah. I do like your Lightning in this outcome. I do think it's going to go 6 games, though. I think Tampa Bay is going to struggle in a couple, and New Jersey's going to get the better of them, and then a few of them are going to be close, but Tampa Bay is going to blow them out in one, and that will be like the momentum shifter.
So you got Tampa Bay in 6, you said?
Yeah.
All right, so I actually, with this, I think a lot of that money is the sexy pick, the New Jersey Devils. I think Taylor Hall has done a fascinating job. He may get a Hart Trophy based on the way he played this year. The problem is, I think their older talent's not very good. I don't think Maroon's very good. I love Brian Boyle to death, but he's not, a top-flight playoff scorer. Their new talent, Heishier, Butcher, and all those guys are going to, they could either have a McAvoy-like playoffs, or I lean towards they're probably not going to be quite prepared to play this team because the Lightning have 3 lines that can hit you from any angle. They have in my opinion, I'm biased, but the Rookie of the Year in Yanni Gourde. I know many's going to say Barzal, and he's probably going to win it. I think the Lightning. I'll give the Devils 1, but I think the Lightning win in 5 games.
Okay. You think Vasilevsky is too much for the Devils?
I think Vasilevsky is a wild card, but I'm not sure if that's going to be in this part of the playoffs. I think he really worries me if he has to face Toronto, or if he has to face Nashville, or if he has to face Pittsburgh. So right now, I don't worry about him in this round. Should the Maple Leafs advance against the Bruins, I start to worry about the talent levels on that team against Vasilevsky. But I think the Lightning are going to do everything they can defensively because I think they have the best 6 defensemen in the National Hockey League right now to clear the alley for Vasilevsky. And I think the goal is to keep Vasilevsky in the 28 to 35 shots face range. If he gets more, it's not that he's a bad goalie. It's just, eventually you start facing 50 shots a night, it wears down on you. So,
yeah, physically and mentally.
Yeah. So, all right, let's take a look at, in my opinion, well, there's 2 series I really like. This one is one of them, and it's the Bruins versus the Maple Leafs in the Atlantic matchup. The Bruins, in my opinion, are probably the better team from top to bottom, including the goalie. The Maple Leafs definitely had some playoff experience last year that gave them a boost of confidence, kind of taking Washington to the brink. It's an interesting situation. I've kind of looked against the Bruins putting all 3 of their best guys on one line, but so far it's worked for them. The young kids down in the second and the third, if they can get Rick Nash back, I mean, that's obviously why they traded for him, is for now to play in the playoffs. And of course, he's hurt. The young kids, DeBrusk, Donato's been fantastic ever since the Olympics. What's that going to be like in the playoffs? We'll see. It's too late now, realistically, to move. It's too late realistically now to move those guys to different lines. So now Cassidy's going to go with what he's got, and we'll see how it works. I think the top line, there's not going to be any issues with that. But does the top line have to almost do too much to beat the Maple Leafs because the other 3 lines really aren't doing anything? So Backes is going to be a key contributor here, not only just putting pucks on the goal, but just handling this whole team, because the top line is obviously full of the alternate captains and the captains, but David Backes is going to be a guy for the 3rd and 4th line to kind of give them the leadership they need, because he knows what it's like to play physical playoff hockey. I mean, if you remember his time with the Blues, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think the Bruins are the better team from top to bottom, and over the course of 7 games, when you play a team 7 times, I think Bruins in 7 is going to be where it happens. And I specifically say that just because they get the home matchup. I think these teams are pretty equally balanced from a talent standpoint. Top to bottom, the roster, in my opinion, favors the Bruins, and I think with the home field advantage or the home ice advantage in Game 7 is going to put them over the top.
Yeah, this matchup matches up one of my picks when their conference preseason, which is Toronto. And based on the regular season performance, they got enough done to get in the playoffs. They can put up points, but they could also let in points. I like Boston in this matchup, and I say it goes to 6 games.
Now, do you think a lot of people I've listened to have been talking about the game Sunday against Florida? You know, they had a chance to, they had a chance to take the Atlantic Division away from Tampa and play New Jersey, who they were significantly better than from game to game, head to head. They were significantly better than the New Jersey, and they let that slip away. Do you think there's going to be some semblance of letdown, or do you think they can get past that?
I think they can easily get past that.
So you have Bruins in, what do you say, 7? You said 6 or 7?
6.
Okay.
6.
All right. So we have the Washington Capitals and we have the Columbus Blue Jackets. And my first head instinct says that the Capitals should run through this series. But I think the Blue Jackets are better than, a lot of people give them credit for, just because they don't know a lot about them. Obviously, Washington's got the bigger marquee names and the better stars. What's the key to Columbus kind of competing with this team?
Goaltending.
Bobrovsky. Goalie Bob.
Yep. Goalie Bob. If he can stop some pucks, and if that defense in front of him can block some shots and give him a little break here and there, I think that gives him a slightly better shot of winning. But Washington's happy that they didn't get the President's Trophy this year and are looking forward to maybe making a deep run in these playoffs.
Now, the question I have is I can see a situation here where obviously the next round matchup is Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, and we'll talk about that in a second, but all signs point to Pittsburgh as advancing into that second round. And guess who they have to face? The Washington Capitals for the, third or fourth straight year. Do you think we could see a situation where Washington gets caught looking ahead or preparing for Pittsburgh and kind of lets Columbus either sneak out a series or make the Capitals play 6 or 7 games?
I could see that situation happening like that. They're like, oh, it's only the Blue Jackets. They let in 10 goals, stupid stuff like that, and they're not playing one game at a time. Instead, they're looking ahead.
Yeah,
in the playoffs, you definitely have to have the mentality to play the game that you're on right now and not look ahead.
Yeah, I can see a situation where maybe if they're up 2-0, they go back to Columbus and they start to think about Pittsburgh and start matching up for Pittsburgh. Obviously, Trotz is not going to do that because I think Trotz is realistically on the hot seat here if he doesn't get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think, do you believe, actually, I'll ask you, do you believe that if Trotz doesn't get by Columbus and or Pittsburgh, he's out of there?
If he doesn't get by Columbus, he's definitely out of there. If he doesn't get by Pittsburgh, it depends how that series goes. If it's a sweep by Pittsburgh, he's definitely out of there. If they go 6 or 7 games, then he might still have his job.
Okay, so what is your prediction here with Washington versus Columbus?
Washington in 6.
Yeah, I think Washington's going to be the better team overall. I think Columbus may get 1. I think Columbus will get 1, maybe 2. I'll take Washington in 6 as well for that. So, that moves us to the final matchup, which we only have one dissenting opinion so far, I think, right? Just the Ducks and the Sharks?
Yes.
All right, so we have Pittsburgh, the 2 seed in the Metropolitan, versus Philadelphia, the 3 seed. Philadelphia has been a very strange team this year. They were not very good in the beginning, then they were really good in the middle, and then they were pretty good at the end, but they still had to hold on with Florida, kind of making that charge. I will ask you a question. Not really a question, but it's more of a fun fact. I don't know if you know that the Pittsburgh Penguins have won the most Stanley Cup playoff games over the last 2 years.
I realized that, yeah.
They have won.
Yeah,
they have won 32 games over the last 2 seasons. Because that's what it takes.
The next closest
to win.
What,
that's what it takes to win 2 cups.
The next closest is what, 22 or something?
I don't know off the top of my head. I was reading some of this information, and it says Sidney Crosby and company have won 32 playoff games over the past 2 seasons. Well, no shit. That's how many you have to win back-to-back cups.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
shocking.
Yeah. So interesting kind of a matchup is for me is going to be the top line of Philadelphia with Giroux, and they were kind of bouncing around. I think Voracek's going to be on that line as well. Versus Sid the Kid and the 2 kids that he has. Those 2 matchups are going to be interesting for me, as well as the second line, because I think Philadelphia doesn't really drop off to the second line, but Evgeny Malkin and Kessel play that second line for Pittsburgh, which has been able to overcome a lot of teams, because a lot of teams, their first line and second line see significant differences, whereas Pittsburgh doesn't. I think the only other team where you don't see a huge drop off between first and second is Vegas. So I think that the Penguins are going to be tested in this matchup, and I think Philadelphia wins in 7 games.
God damn it!
Oh, I thought we were going to disagree on that one.
No, that's exactly what I said. God damn it!
Well, that was anticlimactic. I really thought you would say Pittsburgh in 7.
No, I said Philly in 7. I think Mrazek is just enough of a piece to get them by in one series, and whether they get blown out in one game and get their head out of their ass is what it takes. I think Philly, with their fan base, is on an all-time high after the Super Bowl, after every goddamn championship that they're winning. So,
now, you think Mrazek's going to be more featured than Brian Elliott at this point?
Probably not.
I'm just asking because they really don't have they haven't named a starter yet, and Brian Elliott came back and only played a couple games. Mrazek's been there, kind of holding the fort down, and Mrazek since the trade has been very hot and very cold. So no, I mean I don't disagree if they go with Mrazek. I was just curious if you felt that they were going to lean on Mrazek more than Brian Elliott because, I mean, Brian Elliott last year in the postseason played a dandy of a postseason, and not to take anything away from Mrazek, but if Mrazek has to face the Lightning, we all know what he likes to do when he faces the Lightning. He likes to give them goals.
Oh, he likes to go behind the net.
Yeah, so I'm curious which goaltender they go with. Maybe the first two games in Pittsburgh, they may just go with the hot hand, or whoever starts out hot, just stick with them. I can see Elliott rolling out first because they're going to have virtually 5 days to kind of give him practice. And I know you can't simulate a game, but he's enough of a veteran that he knows the game, the game speed. So I think Philly, like you said, they're kind of on a roll with everything in that city, and God forbid we have to give them another excuse to eat horse shit. This may be it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really surprised that you said Philly too.
Yeah, no, I liked Philly. When this matchup came out, I think they're physical and I think they're tough, and they're really a team. Like I said, they're really a team that, in my opinion, doesn't fall off from first line to second line. So that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when your fourth line's not really going to play too terribly much. You got Giroux. You have a lot of guys. I mean, Couturier, I think, is a really good guy. Konechny, Laterra is probably going to play third line, but he's definitely, Yuri Laterra's got the playoff experience with the Blues. I'm interested to see Nolan Patrick's first playoff appearance. I hope he doesn't go quiet. Wayne Simmons is always a beast. I know Spike said one time that he definitely, what's the word? He's definitely one of the underrated players in all of sports. Good player you don't really think about when you talk about, quality players. Voracek, Wheel, Weiss. The defense could be an issue, but they picked up Johnny Oduya. Obviously, he knows how to play some defense in the playoffs. Gostisbehere is one of the good ones. Gudas is one of the good ones. And then, in my opinion, right now, Brian Elliott is a really good playoff goalie if that's who they decide to go with. So I think if the puck bounces the right way, I think they have to play a perfect series, but I think they can beat them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think they just have enough what it takes to have them get out of it, and it's going to be a physical series in my mind, and both these teams absolutely hate each other too. So. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, just in all aspects of sports, and it's just a natural state rivalry. I mean, so it'd be an interesting one to watch. Damn, I thought we would have more dissenting opinions than just the Anaheim Ducks and San Jose Sharks. And it's not like I don't think the San Jose Sharks can win. I just think that I've been saying it for a long time. When the Ducks are healthy, I think they're the best. No disrespect to Nashville, I think they're the best team. In the West.
In the West.
Yeah, watch me have to eat my words and the Sharks sweep them, but we'll see. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they've played really good the last month, 13-4-1 record, so Anaheim. So Anaheim versus the Sharks for our only $20 prop bet, so we'll have to keep that in mind. So any other kind of things that are jumping out to you in this series? I think we have some really good matchups, like some sneaky good. Like I know I said Nashville would win it in 5. But, I mean, like I said, the puck bounces the right way. Varlamov's out. So if Bernier has a decent time in net against Nashville, I mean, you could see.
It could be an interesting series, yeah.
I know a lot of people, I mean, that's the biggest disparity at the sports books is Colorado. I believe they're getting like plus 280 to plus 300.
I think it might be even more. Let me pull that up real quick right now.
I think the last thing I saw was the Preds minus 350 and the Avalanche plus 2.
Oh, no. But I just saw it earlier, and I think it's Preds even more. It's like Preds 550. Yeah, it's Preds minus 550, Avalanche plus 425.
425, holy cow. So can you imagine Colorado stealing one at home at that point? Or stealing one on the road, and splitting the series and then winning game 3. I mean, you bet Colorado at plus 425. Where do you get Nashville at that point? You might be able to make some money. What?
It might be Nashville at even if you're it might be pretty close to even at that point.
So let me ask you this question. So you said Nashville was what, 450 or 500?
Minus 550.
Okay, so they're minus 550. If you believe,
Or to win the cup, or
no, to win this series.
Oh yeah, minus 550. Yeah.
So realistically, if you believe Nashville is going to at least win a game and not get swept by the 8th seed, which you never know because Nashville last year was the 8th seed and swept the freaking Blackhawks and they only scored 4 goals. But I don't think Nashville, the Predators this year, are this year's version of the Chicago Blackhawks. So I think they're going to get a game. If you're going to bet a series price at that much juice, wouldn't you realistically be better off betting just a single game for them to win? And if they, like, say they happen to lose game 1, I feel like chasing your money on a more of to me, I hate to use the L word, but I hate more of a lock for them to not get swept than to win this series.
Yes, it does seem like much better value in that situation. I'm looking up game 1 right now, and spread's minus 270.
Jeez, that's high. Holy cow.
Yeah.
But I got to feel like on the road, at home, in front of that crowd, ready to get back to the same place they got to last year. I got to feel like they cannot lose game 1. The pressure's all on Nashville right now.
Yes, absolutely.
But at the same time, they earned it. They have the talent to take on this pressure. And the depth is just, to me, too much for Colorado. So I feel like I don't know how much, situation I can deal with, but I'm pretty sure that Nashville probably has a better chance of winning a game than winning all of the games. Does that make sense at all?
Yes. Yes, it does. I do agree with your logic for them to bet individual games instead of the series with the juice and all that, because, you could always chase your money. Highly unlikely Nashville loses both the first 2 games. Granted, they somehow blow this first game with all the pressure on their shoulders. You could easily chase your money in the second game, so.
Right. So, that's what I'm saying. I can't see them losing. Now, obviously, like I said, nothing is set in stone. But I can't see Nashville losing 2 games at home to Colorado. Colorado's a good team, but I don't think they're elite enough to do something like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the first round games. VJK is minus 145 for the first game, which seems kind of low in my mind.
Yeah, I'm looking at... Oh, this is series price. So, I don't want series price. I want... There we go. So, yeah, I got VGK here. They opened up at 140, and depending on where you got them, they're somewhere between 130 and 135 in a lot of the places I see. The Superbooks got them at 135.
Okay.
But where are you looking at? William Hill? William Hill doesn't even have them on the board right now, according to Vegas Insider.
They have them at minus 145 on the mobile.
Okay, that's weird. They're a blank box on VI. So
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. What are some bets you're going with for Game 1? Anything you see? I like Vegas. I like Vegas. Not necessarily the money line. I like the total of 5.5. I like the over in that.
The over at plus 105.
I see plus 115. So depending on where you see it, yeah. The Wind's got it plus 120. I like I like to look at the consensus, and they have it. It opened up 115. It's currently 115 on a consensus, but some places have it 105. Wind has it at 120. So.
Oh wow. Yeah, I do like the over in that game as well. Yeah, I'd probably do a 3-leg parlay. I'd probably take VGK, the over in that game, and probably the Bruins in Game 1.
You like the Bruins?
Yeah. Yeah, that is minus 150.
Man, they got all the goalies on pretty much all the matchups on Vegas Insider. All the goalies are probable. Like, are the goalies?
Oh, really?
Well, like Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, that has both the goalies probable, Murray and Elliott. So if Elliott's listed on the injury report as probable, I imagine he's going to get the go. He's just got Dubnyk probable, Hellebuyck probable, Kincaid probable, but Schneider questionable. So it's weird. It's got every single goalie. It's kind of strange. So.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Well, I guess because the games start tomorrow, so that might be part of the plan.
Part of the plan.
Yeah. Who do you have right now as your Stanley Cup final matchup?
Well, the one in the bracket, I went with my heart. I went VGK versus Tampa, which, I mean, it's not terrible, but I personally believe I still believe Tampa's going to make the final, but in the West, I believe it's going to be Anaheim.
Oh, okay. You think they go through the Sharks and then get the series win against VGK?
Well, VGK gets past LA, yes, I do.
That's realistically a good... I would be intrigued to watch that Anaheim VGK matchup, even though I think the Sharks are going to go past. Just because the physical hockey, you're probably going to see quite a bit of fighting, a lot of good hits into the boards, stuff like that, wear them down kind of hockey.
I don't disagree with that. I think that this team's built for that, and I know that they know what it takes. I mean, Anaheim, their big guys have been deep in the playoffs for the better part of a decade now. I mean, since 2007, they haven't been able to get the prize possession, but they've been conference finals, second round matchups. They've been in the Stanley Cup. You know, they know what they're doing, and I just think that they're a quality team. Now, does it mean they're going to win? Is it gospel? No, but I just think they're a very quality team. And John Gibson's a hot goaltender, which there's 16 goaltenders in this bracket. Any one of them get hot and screw everything up for us. So you just never know.
Yeah. Would you bet the Ducks had 17-1 right now to win the cup?
That's a pretty decent bet. 1,700? Wow. I may have to go take a look at that.
17-1, yeah.
What is San Jose? They got to be like 15 or something?
15, yep.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, San Jose is the favorite in the series. However, they're not even the favorite in Game 1, which I understand they're on the road. So they're a pretty disparaging favorite. I mean, Anaheim, the consensus, they're a 150 favorite here on Vegas Insider. So it's interesting. If they're saying that this matchup is so close, to be a 150 favorite seems like an interesting gamble to me.
I do have one team that I have bet already, and this was about 2 weeks ago now when they were right on the borderline playoffs, and that's Philly. I got them at 40-1, which they are currently at right now. So
there you go.
Same value. I figured it was worth the $10 I threw on it, and see what happens if they make the conference finals. Maybe start hedging then.
Maybe we'll see, because I mean, Pittsburgh's going to obviously be a favorite, and I believe they would play Washington if they advance. So that would be probably there'll be a dog in that one, and they'll have to play, I believe, the three realistic teams that could advance: Toronto, Boston, and Tampa. I believe they'd probably be a dog to all three of those as well. So yeah, you got an interesting hedging opportunity should they make it to the third round of the conference finals and potentially the Stanley Cup finals. So that'll be that'll be a good problem to have. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And worst thing that could happen is I light the ticket on fire. So
that's what you're good at doing. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, this has been our Vegas Squares. Forgot what I was going to say. This has been our Vegas Squares NHL First Round Playoff Hockey Preview, as 16 teams take their quest for the Cup. Obviously, I'll be rooting for VGK in Tampa, but we will see what happens. Like I said, a hot goaltender, home ice, anything is possible with any of these guys. So for Anthony,
lucky bounce as well.
Yeah, for Anthony, I am Aaron. Like we said, anything is possible. So stay tuned for the Vegas Squares. We will see you next time. Go Knights, go Lightning, and I guess he's rooting for the Flyers at this point. So we will see you on another podcast. Take care.